This is my Topeak saddlebag. I've had it for quite some time and gone through a few different bikes with it. What I like about this is it has the clip that goes under the saddle with no strap, which means it will work with my dropper post. And inside I usually carry a tool, a patch kit and a spare tube just in case. But as you can see, my tube is covered in dust and dirt, and thanks to our Irish weather, the saddlebag gets sprayed constantly with dirt from the back wheel, so that eventually seeps its way into the saddlebag and then turns into a grinding paste which just wears down your tube. So you go take your tube out of your saddlebag and there's holes worn in it from the grit and your tools. Luckily for me, since I work in a bike shop, I have no shortage of spare tubes, so what I'm going to do is try and cut this tube up to protect my spare tube. So I started off by just splitting the tube down the middle, cleaning it with IPA to take off any dirt or residue or powder, then measure it up to see where I need to try and stick the tube together to make the pouch. Rough it up with a piece of sandpaper and then try and glue it with the patch glue. I spreaded it out, I left it for a few minutes to dry before it starts to go tacky, folded it over and then pinched it down with little crocodile clips to try and hold it together. I left that for 24 hours to dry, but for some reason it just would not stick, so I tried again. I got another piece, cleaned it again, same thing, isopropyl alcohol to make sure there's no dirt on it. Used a different type of rubber glue that's supposed to be flexible. Did the exact same thing, folded it over, used the little crocodile clips to try and hold everything in place, and then left it for 24 hours. That wouldn't stick either, so I chopped up another piece of inner tube. This time, again, cleaned it with isopropyl alcohol, made sure I scuffed it up an awful lot better than last time, cleaned it again a second time after I had sanded it, tried the vulcanizing rubber again to see if I had just done it wrong the first time, spread it out, let it dry, folded the tube over, and this time I used way bigger clamps to try put a little bit more pressure on it to see if it would stick, and then I left it for 24 hours. That didn't work either. So I gave up on trying to glue the tube and decided to see if I could try and stitch the tube together. So I folded it over and marked out where I was going to put holes, and I used a leather belt hole punch. Put the holes all the way down along the edge of the tube. To use as a thread, I used another piece of the inner tube and cut long thin strips, one for each side. I made a sewing needle out of an old paper clip by just straightening it and putting a loop at one end, to use that to thread the rubber strips through the inner tube. I put it through the first hole and then just tied a knot into the end of it to hold it in place, and then worked my way up along the inner tube. Once I got to the end of it, again I just tied it off with a knot, pulled it tight and then snipped the excess off with a scissors. Once I had both sides done, I opened up my inner tube, cleaned out the dirt and grit off it and wrapped it up again nice and tight so that it would fit into my new pouch. So it's a little bit of a tight fit and it's rubber against rubber, so it feels a little bit sticky, but it still fits in, and then I can fold the flap over. And when I hold that in place so that it doesn't spring out, it fits snugly into my saddlebag, and even with the excess rubber around that inner tube, I still have space for my tool and my little patch kit. So at least now, when I go cycling in our lovely Irish weather and I get absolutely destroyed and sprayed with water and grit, my inner tube will be safe in my saddlebag.